Do you
Yeah.
have like a favorite flavor of ice cream?
Yes.
Okay, what is it?
I like a strawberry
Strawberry? Cool.
ice cream.
Yeah, why do you like
Yeah.
strawberry ice cream?
I don't know. I cannot explain it. It's just maybe the flavor, the fragrance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my point. You don't really know why you like strawberry ice cream. You just do. And it's not you claiming that like it is the best ice cream or that it is the correct ice cream flavor to like. You're just saying, I don't know, but when I evaluate my internal sense of self while eating ice cream, this seems to be the one that gives me the most pleasure or whatever, right? Like it is a evaluation of a completely subjective thing. And that doesn't mean I have to doubt your favorite flavor of ice cream. Like I'm not going to be like, how do I know you really like strawberry ice cream? Because I don't have any evidence. Hey everyone, it is Arden and Citrine here. So I have a quick clip for you. So this is a clip from Takis from a few weeks ago, and we were talking to this caller that I've had a handful of times. They've pretty consistently shown up to kind of soft pitch some gender critical ideas. And I know that they've expressed that he spent some time on like X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it in those circles. And so I find conversation with him really interesting because he's incredibly polite and respectful in dialogue and always makes clear that he's kind of polite to trans people in person and in his personal life, but that he holds reservations privately. We explored some of that here between dating and some of his coworkers and like, what it means to feel like a man or woman. And so, yeah, enjoy that. We explore some of those conversations here and also hit like and subscribe, or Citrine will come and give you a toothy kiss. Yes, she will, won't you, Citrine? Minh in California, pronouns he, him, or any, says, how do we protect trans men's feelings? What does feeling like a man entail? So, Minh, you are live on Transatlantic with Arden and Ben. How you doing?
Hello, Arden. Good to hear from you again. I'm pretty good.
Good. Glad to hear it.
You, Ben.
What's going on?
Yeah, so normally I tend to like to discuss an issue with you and Katie because Katie is not here. And this problem, I feel like only Ben can help me better because the situation, I mean, I'm not sure how to deal with it without, hurting the trans man's feelings. So that's why I need your advice.
Okay.
Yeah, what's your question?
Yeah, so for the context of my question, I am in a social group designed for any person who identify as a gay man to join. And so in the last 4 meetings, there was a trans man in the group, and he sit next close to me, and on day one, and then when we exchange conversation, I began to have a feeling that he seemed to be interested in me. And the thing is, because I am not attracted to him, and by the fourth meeting, the meeting ended before the scheduled time. So we left a bit early, and then he asked me to go out for coffee, and I had to lie to him by saying, I had to pick up somebody in the airport, even though that's not true. And then he said, how about rain check for next time? And I just want to leave. So I said, oh, okay, sure. But then when I see his reaction, he's very excited hearing that. I realized that I think I made a mistake by giving him the hope that something good going on. And I don't know, like if next time he really show interest in it, I wonder how should I say to him. What is your advice for me?
Yeah, I think it's the same way that you should handle it with any other person that is interested in you that you're not compatible with. You can just say, hey, I appreciate it. I'm not really interested. And like, you can say it respectfully and just say that I don't think we're really compatible. And you don't have to give a specific reason. But like, it's totally okay to not be attracted to a particular person. And they might be upset with that because they might need to process, maybe they got some hopes up. But I think most people would want you to be honest with them And at least like don't be rude about it, but you can be honest and say, I don't think we're compatible, or I'm not interested in going on a date or whatever. And they should just be okay getting over it and finding somebody else. Any either
Uh,
others of you have
yeah,
thoughts?
yeah. So Ben, so I think this is the thing that usually when I was on before when I use Match or eHarmony, when a trans man, not too many, there were just a few send me a like. I simply just swipe left because I have no interest, and they just send me a DM, and I said, I'm not attracted to you. So sorry, you just find somebody who
See,
into you. And then usually it's ended there, but because it's a person,
Here's the rub.
I don't want to hurt his feelings.
yeah. Here's the
And
thing, though,
if
because
he tell me,
now what you're doing, no, Min.
yeah,
So here's the problem. It's not the issue. The issue isn't that you weren't interested in a particular person, because that's how it should be. You should, think about, am I attracted to this person as an individual?
yeah,
But when you start making a generalization about everybody based on their trans status, that is where the problem is. It's like if you swiped a certain way on everybody from a certain ethnic group, or you swiped a certain way, like for a factor that somebody cannot necessarily change about themselves just because of that one trait. That can be a little less of a good thing in my opinion. And especially because we've talked about this with a lot of different people, but being trans doesn't mean you have certain sexual preferences. It does not mean you have certain anatomical features. It doesn't mean you have a certain like body type or anything. There are so many different trans people that if you base your preference on that one thing, your definition of what you are attracted to is not consistent. That's not a consistent measure. And so that's where it could be seen as harmful or hurtful if you said, I'm not interested in you because you're trans. That's a problem. And you shouldn't do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't usually like to bring it up. I guess it the worst case scenario is that this guy asked me, is it because I'm trans, or what do you think the tactful way to respond to him?
Well, if it's an individual thing, like that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fact that you mentioned that you swipe left on anybody who's a trans guy, and
I
like
think
that's possibly more discriminatory. But I think like if it's an individual person that you just don't have chemistry with, you don't have to tell them it's because they're trans. You can tell them I'm just not interested. We don't have chemistry. Like you don't have to
Okay.
be mean about it in that way.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Yeah, yeah.
you can't control what you like if you're just like, I really have a strong preference for a certain set of genitals. But like Ben said, you don't know everyone's anatomy just based on their trans status. So I think it would be very weird to me to be like, oh, I don't want to be with you because you're trans, but you don't have to be with any individual for any individual reason. So I think it would be kind of just the same. Like, hey, sorry, I'm not interested. I don't know if you need to give any more than I'm not interested. Like, I don't know what reasons could be applicable there that they're entitled to that are worth providing, right? Like, I think there's risk of hurting someone's feelings unnecessarily. And I think it's easier to just be like, hey, I'm not interested. And if they ask why, you can just be like, I'd really rather not get into it. I don't think that's your business, but I'm just not. Like, you can avoid the question in a way that's respectful, I think.
Yeah, thank you so much, Arden. Yeah, that's the thing that I tend to be have concern about, because when it comes to real human being, I'm not really harsh. Like I tend to be online with some people, but yeah. So I guess the next question I want to ask you, I guess this is for you too, Ben, that the feeling, like a man that and I want to ask actually because in my own experience growing up. When I was around, I guess, 8, 9 years old, I began to, develop my like attraction for the boys at that age. I kind of cute and all. So when people ask me, like for example, like, and I was pretty gender non-conforming. So when people ask me, "Do you feel like a boy?" I would say no, because I like to do this and this stuff that stereotypically associated with girls. And when I grew up, and I'll grow that, the feeling that a feeling, then when people ask me again, like, do you feel like a man? I would say like, I don't know what I'm supposed to feel. I just know that I am a male, a male because I can produce, sperm and so on. So I'm curious when trans men say that I
Mhm.
feel like a man, and what exactly they refer to? Because
It's
science, what do you know?
complex.
What they think?
Yeah, it's very complex because we have our societal norms of what is masculine and what is feminine, and those things do not make you whatever gender identity you are. Like I don't know if there's a standard way to say I feel like a man. All I know is I feel like me, and I feel most like me when I have masculine characteristics. Like after I had top surgery, I felt more like me, or I feel more like me in certain clothing that enhances body parts that I want emphasized. Like I want to seem like I have broader shoulders, etc. And some of that is so that I can, you know, be recognized in society as a man. But a lot of it is just I feel comfortable in this way. And so for me in particular, I don't know if I have a strong sense of identity, particularly with the word man, but the word man is what is associated with the way that makes me feel like me. And so I can communicate to other people, these are the things that I like. This is how I like to present. This is how I feel most natural as myself. And that all together in our society is expressed as man. And so it's very complex to rope in someone's identity into one word or one label. But I think that's been the easiest way for me to communicate how I feel. But in the same sense, I can't say that somebody else might feel like they're a man, and they like completely opposite methods of expression. They might feel natural in totally different ways. I know plenty of people who identify as men that are very feminine and want to accentuate other parts of their body that I don't want accentuated. And so I think it's a very complex experience. And I think it's more about communicating what is natural to yourself in a way that's understandable as like rather than being a definition of what it means to feel like a man.
Man, if I could, I'd love to ask you a question for like a thought experiment to kind of help drive that point home. Um, do you
Yeah.
have like a favorite flavor of ice cream?
Yes.
Okay. What is it?
I like a strawberry
Strawberry? Cool.
ice cream.
Yeah. Why do you like
Yeah.
strawberry ice cream?
I I don't know. I cannot explain it. It's just maybe the flavor, the fragrance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my point, right? You don't really know why you like strawberry ice cream. You just do. And it's not you claiming that like it is the best ice cream or that like it is the correct ice cream flavor to like. You're just saying, I don't know, but when I evaluate my internal sense of self while eating ice cream, this seems to be the one that gives me the most pleasure or whatever, right? Like it is a evaluation of a completely subjective thing. And that doesn't mean it's like I have to doubt your favorite flavor of ice cream. Like I'm not going to be like, but how do I know you really like strawberry ice cream? Because I don't have any evidence. What does it mean to like strawberry ice cream? Like they're kind of like incoherent questions as far as I can tell. I think gender and gender identity is a lot like that, where it is the mere fact that you can't articulate exactly what it means to feel like a man doesn't mean that you don't feel it, right? Like we're talking about a collection of, like Ben said, just to echo those points, like biological and sociological and psychological phenomena. There's like several different things interplaying that influences someone to feel a certain kind of way. And it's really hard to pin down, I think, in so many cases. And similar to like left or right handedness, like, why do you prefer to write with your right hand instead of your left? I don't know. It just feels better. It's easier. It doesn't feel as awkward. It's kind of an incoherent thing. Like there's no real reason why. It's just what is. Or there may be a reason why, but it's like completely unknowable to us.
Yeah. So I guess then, so when I guess like when you and Arden like feel like a man or woman respectively, then like when people treat you, like a man or woman, like is there some sort of social cue that they you expect them to treat you so that you feel like your identity is validated?
Well, that's
I don't
like
know
how I
if my
mentioned. There are
question or
certain
not.
things in each society that we associate with a certain gender, and so having some more of those qualities does make it easier for society to recognize you as whatever gender, because that's what we've stereotyped, what we've decided is masculine or feminine. And is that necessarily correct? Not necessarily. There's more than one way to be a man or a woman, or any number of genders. But like there are, in contrast to the things that make you feel naturally yourself, there might be things that don't make you feel that way or make you feel the opposite, and that's what we call dysphoria. And if someone calls me ma'am, I feel unnatural. It feels like um not like who I should be called. It's a disconnect. And even cis people kind of get that feeling of a disconnect. So there isn't necessarily anything definitive that says man cannot like to be called ma'am. Like there's nothing inherently in the word ma'am that means it can't be associated with men or any gender, but the way our society has defined those terms causes some of that disconnect. So again, it's that very nuanced intersection of how we've defined gender, how we feel natural in our society, and the way that gender is performed. If that makes any sense. I know it's kind of sticky.
Yeah, I asked you this question because I'm not sure, in the context of socialization, whether I admit that I treat, well, just talk about cis men here, heterosexual men and gay men a little bit differently. So with straight men, when I talk to them, it's a bit more like bro talk, so to speak, and
Mhm.
I tend to be more serious, and there tend to be a little bit wider personal distance, even if the person is friendly. With gay men, I tend to be a little bit more, flirtatious, even though there's nothing between us. And usually we don't the distance is a bit closer, and we're a bit more casual. So
Yeah.
I think I thought that's
Yeah,
why
and that's
I wonder
well,
like
that's cultural.
like
That's cultural, right?
yeah.
Like
So
queer
yeah,
culture has certain norms, and
For
cis hetero
masculinity.
culture has
Yeah.
different norms for masculinity. And so we have kind of unspoken social cues in each different environment that you kind of learn how to interact with that group of people. And so that's where the sociological side comes in, because even if you identify in a certain way, even if something is a different form of expression than you would normally want to do, a lot of times you will adopt certain expressions and certain norms to be perceived in a certain way in that particular subculture. So there is kind of a give and take, and you have to prioritize what is most important for you. Is it more important that they call me the right pronouns, or is it more important that I stand out as an individual, even if that might mean that they don't perceive me to be the right gender right away? And you have to play a little bit of that game. But what you're talking about is kind of this idea of adjusting for each different social environment that you're in. But I don't think your identity changes in either way. I think you're still the same person, just the way you interact is different. Is that an accurate representation, you think?
yes, yeah. Um, yeah, so this is the final point I asked you, and then I'll release the call. So then, do you think that if I in contact with a trans man, because in my experience, because I have trans men at work as coworker, and we tend to be polite and we interact nicely together, but I have to admit that there is a little bit like distance between us, and it's not there, and I always talk to them referring to their pronoun and respect their gender, but the connection is not really there. Like if I have with this man, I don't know why, but I wonder in a group, and do you think I should be a little more casual to them, make them feel like they are like this man. Does it make sense to you?
I just treat them like, depending on the social context. Like, I think if and it depends on kind of your ability to read the room, but usually people will interact with you in a way that they kind of want to be interacted with. And if they're kind of adhering to more like cis hetero norms, then maybe that's the context they're familiar with, and maybe they're kind of wanting some more of that in return. Or if they're kind of using different societal norms, if they're kind of suggesting that they have more like queer subculture and that's how they want to be interacted with. I think people can give nonverbal communication in that of how they want to be interacted with. And if you can just interact with them the way that you interact with anybody else, and then you kind of adjust kind of as you read that interaction with them.
Okay, I see. Well, this is very enlightenment call, so thank you so much for your help.
Arden, do you have any thoughts?
I was just going to say, yeah, I mean, just treat them like people, treat them how you would treat any other man, I mean, and none of that says that, because I know, men, you are maybe not quite on the same values we are for this issue. It's not saying that you have to sincerely hold belief that someone is a man or a woman. Like, you can hold sincere beliefs that cis people, are not men or women. I don't care what you believe about their gender, but just treat us with dignity and respect. Like you said, you use their pronouns, whether or not you necessarily completely get it. You just want them to feel respected in your workplace. And I think that is kind of the best way to approach the interaction. So yeah, thank you for calling, Min. We appreciate the conversation, and call back sometime. I like talking to you.
Yeah, thank you, Alan. Thank you, Ben.
Have a good day.